from the ACU house in Miami. My name is Jose Montero. I became a Congregante in the Agrupación in 1993 in Atlanta. I currently live in Denver, Colorado, so I am here representing many of us who are what we call in the ACU diaspora. But it's very exciting here to be here with all of you today. We're 3 months away essentially from all of the agrupados and the agrupación coming together here in Miami for the 90th anniversary assembly. I mean, very, very exciting. And the purpose of that assembly is not only to celebrate the 90 years of history and legacy and activity of the agrupación, but also to plan what the ACU will look like and who the ACU will be when we hit 100. So really a lot of excitement around this, and we've been meeting here all of this weekend with the ACU board of directors and with the presidents. And when this video comes out to shortly to all of the houses and the chapters in the agrupación, we're all going to be meeting this hopefully with a lot of excitement and really just a lot of activity that's happening around here, and so much ahead of us here over the next 2 to 3 months in the preparation of this. And you know, our goal at the end of the day is to get as many agrupados as possible to the 90th anniversary assembly. It's going to be the success of this assembly is going to be directly proportional, honestly, to the amount of people that come and how many of us come here and share ideas and share our strengths. But you know, we are one agrupación. And the 90 years into this, there's one agrupación, but those 90 years have been animated by various chapters and various houses, casas, chapters, grupos, as we've called them, throughout the cities. And one of the things that we wanted to do in order for people to prepare and really start thinking about, hey, listen, what ideas do I bring, right? How do I show up to this assembly, is to really get a sense for what the agrupación looks like across all of our houses. And in order to do that, what we have is, you know, we have, I'm joined here today, and I'll be introducing them very briefly here, the presidents of all of the ACU chapters, the agrupación, and also our national president. We're going to spend the next hour here really having a conversation about what is the carisma, or the in English, you know, in the agrupación many times we have our Spanglish dilemma, and in terms of how do we translate some of the terms that we've grown up with in the agrupación and legacy terms such as carisma. Not a very easy translation in English, but you know, essentially it's the personality, the temperament, right? The idiosyncrasy of each one of the houses, right? And that collage, right, of the different carismas of each one of the houses is what makes up the overall agrupación. And wanted to use this opportunity to share the differences and the stories of each one of the houses with all of our agrupados. So, in order to talk about the personnel of the ACU houses, joined today, as I mentioned, by the presidentes of each one of our houses. First, I'll start over here to my far right with Atlanta, Jose Valle, who became a Congregante in 1981. So welcome, Jose. Thanks for being with us. And then Miami, the president of the Miami chapter is Cesar Guerrero. And Cesar, you became a Congregante, I think, in 2005, right? So welcome. And Nino Alvarez from La Isla del Encanto, Puerto Rico, president of our chapter there. And you became a Congregante, I think, in 2001. 2001. There you go. So 20 years. Alex Navarro, the president of the Washington, D.C. chapter, and you and I became Congregantes actually the same year in 93. So we've been exactly. It was a big year. It was a big year. And then joined as well here by our national president of the Agrupación Nacional is Luis Sanchez. You became a Congregante. It was 2007, right? So.
Guess I'm the baby here.
Yeah, you are. And boy, did you show up at a good time, huh? So, well, welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for giving your time. I know everyone has traveled from everywhere here to come together here in Miami. And for those that have not visited the ACU house here in Miami, we're in the chapel of the house here in the Agrupación with the Blessed Sacrament with us here today too as well. So really an opportunity. What a beautiful place to really have this this conversation and talk about our history and our legacy and who we are. So, one of the, as I mentioned, we're going to talk today about the carismas of each one, the personalities of each one of the chapters. And what I'd love to do is let's just have a discussion, right? And let's have an opportunity for each one of you to tell us about what is that personality, what is that carisma of each one of our houses. And what we'll do is I'll start with Jose. Tell us. Take us a couple minutes and tell us about Atlanta. What's Atlanta like?
In particular, Atlanta, what I would say, if I want to summarize it in one word, it would be community. And when I say community, I really mean that the Atlanta Agrupación is really everybody's friends with everybody. Sounds logical, right? But the way that we interact with each other, which leads to your question, and how we get together, even though we may not have seen each other for a long time, or especially now during this time because of COVID and things of that nature, it's like we haven't lost a beat. We haven't missed being together. Everything comes back very naturally. So the Atlanta group has grown, if you will, in waves, where there's been core group of people that have come into the agrupación over time, and all of it has been through the ejercicios espiritual. So there's that commonality, that bonding, that friendship. I think the other thing about Atlanta is that we stay together outside of the agrupación. So there's that community, that bonding. So whether we're doing an apostolado or we're just socializing, right?
Yeah.
We do it pretty much amongst us. So everybody in La Agrupación in Atlanta has that social circle which is inside La Agrupación. So, and it's easy for all of us as a group because we know each other and we have that commonality. So I would say that the primary word for Atlanta would be community.
Great. Fantastic. Thanks. Well, tell us a little bit about Miami, the headquarters.
Well, Jose, I have to be very honest with you. I think we have more than one. However, I like to focus in a particular one that I think is the strength of the entire house and strength of the entire ACU community. And that is that we've been blessed by having Our Lady in our facility. The Lady of the ACU has come with us from our previous house and is special to us, not only because it takes us back to our roots, but also she is our mother. She is the one that we really have to protect us. So the dedication, the faith that we demonstrate, the opportunity to pray the rosary, the opportunity to cultivate friendship, always under the protection of Our Lady, that is, I think, a clear definition or a clear charisma of our Miami house, our Miami chapter. Among them all, the most important, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you, and congratulations on the new house here. It's the first time I had been here, and it's this really beautiful facility here.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Really
I hope everyone can come and visit us.
Yeah.
At the same time, I hope you enjoy our gardens and the facilities, because we're trying to make this your house too.
Yeah, I know, and it was beautiful to see La Virgen right there in the garden. I mean, I remember her from Biscayne Bay, and of course many in the agrupación still remember what she was like in Cuba. I mean, so it's really an interesting evolution. So fantastic. Thank you, Nino. Tell us.
I think that the Puerto Rico house is going to be nothing more than a reflection of what everybody else has said or will be saying. Mm-hmm. We are a diversity. We are a group of vast experience, wide range in age, for example, professions, cultures, and the respect and how the common denominator comes in and threads the entire community, was the word that Jose used, threads all these individuals in as a unit, as a group, as a member belonging to one feeling. Cubans, They had to exile. They came to Puerto Rico. They've been accepted by Puerto Rico. They feel Puerto Ricans. We speak Spanish. We speak English. It's engineers, architects, business people, elderly, younger people in the agrupación. It's just a vast majority of different cultures, different experiences that have come together with the one common denominator. The agrupación has it all.
That's great. That's it's great to hear, and it's good to, it's really exciting that there's still an agrupación en el Caribe.
That's it.
So the roots are still
right.
yeah.
Puerto Rico y Cuba,
Yeah.
de un pájaro, las dos
Oh,
alas.
there you go. There you go. Fantastic. Well, let's talk about talking red, white, and blue. Nothing like the capital of the United States. So tell us a little bit about Washington.
Sure. Well, I'm very honored to be here. Very honored to represent Washington D.C., the agrupación in Washington D.C. So Washington D.C., I would say, kind of has two things that really attract folks to the agrupación in Washington. That's kind of the professional connections, and being in the capital of the nation, it's folks come there looking for those professional connections first. And what's great about it is that as they start to mingle with the group, they start to realize, now I'm making personal connections, spiritual, intimate connections. And that's ultimately what attracts all of us to the agrupación. It's that it's having those intimate connections. But I think the initial attractiveness, that charism that the Washington ACU has is that particular those connections that people are able to make. So I found it to be in line, and as I'm hearing the other presidents talk about their particular chapter, again, like you were saying, that community, and Jose, you were mentioning as well, that's what binds us together. And of course with Our Lady, right? We're a Marian organization, so we all have that. We all have that love of Mary. So I feel like that's kind of the essence of the charism in Washington. It's just that kind of professional connection first, and then as folks get in there, they start to make those personal, intimate, spiritual connections.
Yeah, it's Washington being the exciting city that it is, right? And you have the tri-state, the whole
Right.
Maryland, D.C., Northern Virginia. Just a lot of excitement, I imagine, as
Right.
well, right? And
Well,
there's a lot of folks that you
it's a
have.
metropolitan area,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
you have Maryland bordering it on one side, bordering D.C., and then you have Virginia on the other, and folks come from they cross the river and they come and they cross the Potomac and come over to the house there in D.C. So yeah, it's a international city for sure.
Yeah, no. Well, thanks for that. Luis, it's as you as president of the National Agrupación, getting ready for this assembly, right? And looking at what does our carisma look like, and what is that carisma is going to animate us. I'm sure there's been a lot of talk, right, at the board level in terms of really how do we mesh all this together as we move forward.
Well, first of all, good morning, because you guys might be watching at 8 o'clock at night, but it's actually we're taping at 7 in the morning. I don't know whose idea it was, but anyways. I think that charisma, what binds us, there's several things, and you guys have mentioned it. I think that professionalism, service. I think that it's in the genes of the agrupado is service. I don't think there could be an agrupado without that call for service, for apostolado. It has to be in you.
Yeah.
It has to be in you, and professionalism. It's okay. We're Marian Sodality specifically for professionals, for professional Catholic men, and we also have that call to get to know God better, get to know ourselves better. How can we be better?
Yeah.
So that charisma of service, professionalism, and at times also leadership. Because of our service, because of our professionalism, we are called at times to lead in different groups.
Yeah, and it's interesting as you say, because you're saying leadership right now, and I mean, and it's very hard to have this conversation, right, without thinking about what we just lived as a world, right, COVID, right, and the coronavirus pandemic that we've had, and what that has meant for the agrupación. A lot of you have mentioned community, right? Prayer, which obviously transcends boundaries, right? But the community of the agrupación. I, for one, at least living in the diaspora, right? In Denver, I've been able to, this past year, really kind of, go to a Guardia in Washington, go to a Guardia in Miami, go to a Guardia in Atlanta. How has COVID helped us really, now position ourselves, right, as an agrupación? Because I think we've been affected just as any organization in the world has, right, to sort of reinvent ourselves a little bit, right? But how has our carisma in each one of the houses and really been affected, and what has that experience been for you guys as the leaders of the
It
chapter?
demonstrated
Yeah.
that we're not ourselves, that we're not by ourselves, that we're not alone, that there is a higher power.
Yeah.
It demonstrated that there's a purpose for this organization.
There you go. And has it affected the charisma of the houses at all?
So I'd
Yeah.
like to say a few things about that. It's been interesting in Atlanta, right? We've all been using Zoom for the last year and a half,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But it's brought a lot of the Atlanta agrupados who, for professional reasons, whatever they may be, they had left Atlanta, gone on to other cities, other places. They've brought them back to the círculos in Atlanta, right? We've had guys attend the círculos and form community, to use that word again, from Houston, from Charleston, from San Juan, Puerto Rico, from Seattle, Washington. So they've come back into our meetings and formed that community, that relationship again. So, technology has been wonderful, if you will. The wonderful world of Zoom in the last year and a half.
And in addition to that, it has allowed the houses themselves, the established chapters, to meld once more
Yep.
and connect with a lot more frequency.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And I'll add to that, not only it's been just for the ACU, but my personal experience in my Cana group, I'm the only agrupado, but all the others that know about it, I've told them about, they log in and they've listened to the homilies, they've listened to the presentations. So it is not only enriching our inside community, but we're actually using an apostolado and taking it outside the agrupación.
That's it.
So that, it's definitely benefit.
Yeah, and I think it's been a great tool to connect the houses. And as we're filming this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for people to see what each house does, right? Because when, as I became president, the first time I was president of the Washington House, I didn't really come to Miami that often, right? In other words, I come for the board meeting as president, but when I wasn't president, I really, I came for when I became a member, and then I came, but I didn't have that connection with the houses. And then now with Zoom, that's really been a blessing for us to be able to participate in other guardias, different houses, Atlanta, Puerto Rico, Miami, all of them. We can participate in any one we want, which is great. So I think as this, hopefully pandemic really starts to calm down a little bit, I hope that we at least can keep that element, keep a camera open so that people can still do that, like you in Denver, for sure.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's
But
been
no mistake, I'm sorry to say that we want to get together again
For
as
sure.
a group, face
Oh,
to face, right?
absolutely.
That's what we're
Yeah.
hoping for.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but
In
the
the very near
the
future.
exercise has internalized our own selves to validate that what I am doing is what
Yes.
we all should be doing. Luis mentioned service, apostolate, spirituality. What is that?
Yeah.
Those are the three pillars of the agrupación. You're not an agrupado if you don't have carry all three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to pick up on what our president said in relation to the Grupo Canal. I think in the Miami chapter, what happened was I want to say a great opportunity, but it was a reaction to a challenge.
Mhm.
Because we were challenged by a pandemic that took us out of our
Yeah.
roles, show us that we are here, not because we are, but
Yeah.
because he wants us here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that purpose, we went to our roots. And it was impressive to see how the Canal groups, the different Canal groups, which were happy, very happy to have quite a few, start developing their internal network to help each other. It was not necessarily from the standpoint of the traditional getting together and praying the rosary. It was like hands-on things now. Are you guys doing okay? Do you need anything?
Yeah.
And the opportunity of cross-sharing any piece of information that could bring relief as well as hope.
Yeah.
And that is at the level of the Canal group. On the other hand, we kind of felt, the house, the Miami house felt a little bit like the challenge, like, hey, we have a very long history, and we have our brothers and sisters in other houses. We need to try to make sure that whatever we're doing
Yeah.
is worth it for them to enjoy, for them to have access. And we're trying, and we did the very best we could, and I think the zooming of the masses, the zooming of the circulars, we tried to take the ACU to the further of the ACU members out there.
Yeah.
To whatever an agrupado was, now an agrupado can see the ACU. And even though at a distance, but still feel part of that community.
You know, I think it's, you know, all your comments and all your reflections here, to me, obviously, as you said, you know, Alex, I'm out in the Rocky Mountains right now, and there is no agrupación, but I've seen through the pandemic, right, that you know, it really has helped us, because all of the carismas of the houses has really, you know, through the technology, we've been able to really showcase that, right? So it's helped, I think, fortify each one of the chapters, but also unite us, right? As an overall organization, which I think has been just really fantastic experience, right? And a blessing in disguise, right? Out of this, you know, and I really think positions us very well, right, as we come now into the planning and these last couple of months before the assembly. And you know, one of the most important things is, Luis, as you mentioned, and a couple of you have already mentioned as well, is service, right? Nuestro lema, uno solo es servir, ¿verdad? You know, as a agrupación. And so what does that mean? You know, los tres pilares de la agrupación, the three pillars, right? Apostolado, formation, and espiritualidad, right? And so apostolado is how we manifest our calling as an agrupado, our vocation as an agrupado, right? And so each house has their apostolados, which is animated as well through their charisma, through their carisma and the personality of that house. And would love to have the opportunity right now to share with the rest of the agrupación maybe just a snapshot of, you know, how that personality agrupación has really influenced the sort of apostolados that each one of the houses you know, does. You know, started with Atlanta last time. Let me go the opposite. Start the other end of the alphabet with Washington D.C. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So one of the apostolados that's been a kind of a hallmark of the ACU in Washington is helping the immigrant community, right?
Yeah.
So again, being in the capital of you know, of basically the world, of course, the United States, but it's given us an opportunity to work specifically with, you know, folks that are exiled, like, you know, many of our, you know, parents were from Cuba, and so it's manifested itself with, you know, again, those in ways political connections, right? Because there's a lot of members that have influence. They have, which is, again, as you and I had talked about before, that the you know, the beauty about being in DC is that, you know, somebody knows somebody in the political world, right? That those connections that I was mentioning before, those professional connections, and through those connections, you know, having you know, an agrupado en un primer puesto, having them at the top of their field, and more than ever, you know, Padre Llorente, our late director, used to say, you want that. People so often have such a negative view of politics, but the reality is that, or politicians per se, but you want an agrupado to be a politician, right? Because if you trust that person, and that person's an honest, God-fearing individual, and has the agrupacion's, backing behind them, that's what you want. So we've kind of leveraged those connections to help with the immigrant community. That's one in particular. Also, there's a lot of poverty in DC. DC, even though it's the capital of the United States, there's a lot of poverty with the African American community there. So again, it's opportunities. Working at homeless shelters, and we've had other agrupados do apostolados at the Sisters of Charity.
Yeah.
And working with HIV patients who are on their kind of on the verge of dying. Yeah. And praying with them, bathing them, doing things of feeding them. So our particular location has been very instrumental in being able to work with the community in an apostolado that very much mirrors that service that you were talking about. So yeah, that's
and even a house too, because in Washington D.C. we actually have a physical house too, where we have residents. I mean, that's a tremendous apostolado too, right? To make that as a haven for people that go to students that go to Washington looking for internships and studying and everything.
Absolutely.
So what a great opportunity for us to have the Agua presence in our nation's capital, physically and spiritually as well. For sure. So that's fantastic. Well, thanks. Tell us, Nino, tell us a little bit, los apostolados in Puerto Rico.
And that's the challenge here, because I see the ACU as the basket of the apostolado. There's different levels of apostolados: individual, collective, group, ACU-sponsored apostolados. So there's a wide range of service that can be offered, and I like they said, there's a wide range of things that could be detailed here that could overextend myself. So just taking 65 men once a year to spiritual exercises, to me, that's the main thrust.
Incredible, 65 men.
And to me, that's the main thrust of what the purpose for our existence in this chapter.
And that's every year.
Annually for the last what, 55 years.
That's incredible.
So and then the weekly meetings, the formation, how a young man evolves from teenage years to their 20s, to their young professional lives, to their maturity, etc., and how the common thread, that common denominator that I mentioned before, carries through his entire apostolate, his entire projection into his wife, into his family, into his community, into his neighborhood, into his job. To me, there is just such a wide breadth of the work that the ACU is doing right now at all different levels. That, anyways, you're seeing the examples here, and I'm going to let them explain you what other ones are available.
Sure. Well, thanks. I mean, that's great. 65 men every year, and as going to ejercicios for 50 years. Tremendous. Think of all the grace that comes from that. Incredible. Cesar, tell us here about Miami.
It is incredible, without a doubt. I want to take this step back, and we were talking about that every agrupado needs to have the service desire built in.
Yeah.
And the personality, and obviously the professionalism and all that. I'd like to put all that in a different context. Agrupados are a bunch of type A guys. And that's a lot to say. Sometimes we butt head, sometimes we get along, but at the very end, we are capable of moving mountains.
Amen.
And I don't mean mountains from the standpoint of the physical mountain, but there is no obstacle that we don't find an alternative, that we don't go around, that we don't come out with a solution. And that's what is happening in Miami right now. We have evolved during the past 10 years through 3 maybe, perhaps 2, but 3 for sure directors that have shown us that we need to go back to our own roots as an individual, as a missionary, that we will depend on what we have.
Yeah.
To me, it's a little bit like my own definition of darkness. In darkness, there's nothing except what you bring in.
Sure.
So we are the one to bring in. So right now, the Miami chapter has a bunch of type A guys testing, probing, looking for this apostolate, if they are not necessarily already working in another one. But many of the activities that we have in the apostolate are focusing to developing the new generation,
Yeah.
working with the professionals, working with the young crowd, trying to make sure that they find an appeal in La Agrupación so that they can eventually, after graduation, come and find a group of men that you don't find every day, but in this particular case, every Wednesday you have 35 plus people that get on their knees and share the Eucharist. And that's, to me, is a significant accomplishment too. Not to disregard his, but
No.
it's
Right.
in each and every way. We're doing a lot of work, and we just try to work with the tools at hands, and we just need to move that forward, because that is what it's going to take us to the next 10 years, to the 100th anniversary.
And you brought a very valid point, extremely important point of one of those 3 pillars. We could disagree. We could have a very vivid discussion, but the respect and the high level of professionalism with which we've been taught to address each other, we can end up the day with respect, not bearing the diversity that we have existing.
You're right, totally right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, Miami is just such an exciting city, and the Agrupación has been symbiotically, right, connected to the evolution of Miami, the evolution of the exile, everything. So it's been really, really interesting, and you just feel really just a lot of energy here at in the Miami house. So that's really, really great to hear. Let's talk about energy as well. There's always been a very unique energy with the apostolados in Atlanta too, Jose.
Yeah,
right?
so,
Yeah.
I still can recall very vividly the instrucciones that Jesus León used to give us at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Too, right?
Absolutely.
And the
Very much so.
instrucciones around the 3 pillars of La Agrupación, and how the apostolado is such a critical piece to complete what an agrupado is.
Yeah.
And, Atlanta has a really rich history of apostolados. We've done a lot of things in the 40 some odd years that the chapter has been in existence. We were talking yesterday about when we used to do the radio show,
Yeah.
right? So that was an interesting one, trying to reach out to the community, so to speak. We used to do, if you remember too, we used to do the BEEP.
The beep, yeah.
The BEEP, the Bureau of Public Information,
yeah,
if you will,
yeah.
in English.
Bureau de Información
which
Pública,
goes back
eh?
to
Yeah.
our roots
Yeah.
in Cuba. So
That
we
was,
did,
that was the first blogging, right?
yeah, you could say that, absolutely. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way.
We invented it at the Agrupación,
Yeah,
right?
There we go. We should have trademarked it. So we did that too. We've done a lot of outreach to the underprivileged, to the poor in Atlanta. Today, if you will, our primary apostolados have been to maintain the student group, right? We've been very fortunate in Atlanta that there was a student group that was started, Emory, Georgia Tech, a few years back, and that we've had some success with it, right? And really it's because of the message of La Agrupación, what the Agrupación is about. This 90th anniversary, we're going to have some of those pasando to congregants. So we've been blessed. So we spend a lot of energy in maintaining that group and enriching that group. We also do the same thing in terms of the ejercicios. We've got a very long tradition with Ignatius House. I think most of you have had the opportunity to go and do an ejercicios there. It's a tremendous facility. The Agrupación is the longest standing relationship with Ignatius House. The ACU had assemblies back in the early 60s at Ignatius House. So Father Llorente went there back then, right when Ignatius House was starting. And, we get approximately 40 men every year to attend in the ejercicio. So, it's a variety of different apostolados. Some of them, as Nino was saying, is done on an individual basis. Some of it is done as a group or a chapter. So we've been blessed to be able to do apostolados in Atlanta.
And always very anchored in the college and the college experience and the college, really, entering the agrupación in college very much as a community, And so, and fun fact as well, and you mentioned the Ignatius House, which is a Ignatian Retreat Center in Atlanta, which was actually modeled by, and when they built it, they used the blueprints of Pío XII from Havana, the agrupación's, Casa de Ejercicio. So, little fun fact there for everybody.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So how about that? Right there in suburban Atlanta. Back in the '60s. So Luis, wow, we're coming into the assembly with just all of this activity that's happening, right? And all of these different apostolados, right? Common denominator of the agrupación, but with a different face in each one of the cities, right? We're going to put all that together now in December.
Okay.
Exciting, huh?
It's very exciting. And when I'm thinking about national apostolates, I'm thinking, well, there's a difference in the last year and a half. We got to look for the positive things here.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the distances between each of the chapters, in the past, it's been here in the U.S., it's been very hard to put a national apostolate together.
Yeah.
But I think that we got to look at the positive things. And I think that the last year and a half has taught us a lot. Yeah. I'll give you an example of, call it a national apostolate. There was an ejercicios, una tanda de ejercicios that was done here in Miami. Not done, but it was filmed here in Miami, but it was actually mainly done in Atlanta. So that gives you a view.
Right.
That gives you an eagle's view of what could actually happen. So now, because of technology and because of the circumstances we've lived in the last year and a half, we've done a lot, but I think there's a lot more coming. There's an opportunity, and that is just an example. Something else that comes to mind as a national apostolate, it's us reaching out.
Yeah.
Like, in a couple of weeks, we're going to travel to Gainesville because that door has opened there with the students at University of Florida.
Well, full circle, right? Because Gainesville was really important.
It was.
At the beginning of
We had a house there.
Yeah.
Somehow, God is opening a door there, stuff like that. So, not only between us, but also in reaching out.
Right. Fantastic.
So we have to search for opportunities. We have to see what is it with the technology and things. What is it that we can do?
Yeah. So really, really exciting. This is really very fertile ground, right, for us to really come here together in December and bring all of these different experiences that we have from all of the houses, right, and put all those together in December. So thanks for sharing those stories, guys. Really, I think it's really useful. And it's we've talked about what we've done, what we're currently doing, right, and as we look at the 90th anniversary, right? And we're looking at, okay, what are we going to look like when we reach 100, right? How is the carisma of each house, right? If we think about what each house looks like right now, what we might look like coming out of the assembly, right? What do you think the apostolados are going to be in each one of the houses moving forward, right? What's apostolado going to look like over the next 10 years in Atlanta? Those opportunities, where will we be heading? What can Atlanta do? What can Washington do? What's going to evolve? So tell us a little about Atlanta. What do you think, Jose?
Who knows where the Holy Spirit will move us?
That's it.
Yeah.
Good answer.
That would be. I would probably put a period on that and leave it at that. But hopefully we're open to wherever the Holy Spirit leads us, and what apostolado is going to come our way. I would think two things that are important, right? One is with the youth in some form or fashion, right? And the other is the ejercicios, bringing more people in to the ejercicio. So I hope that's the direction that we go in. I'd leave it at that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Cesar, Miami, evolving, the magic city. It's just a city that's really, I mean, talk about a city that's just had a metamorphosis here over the last 10 years. Where do you see us going?
Jose, I agree with him. Let the Holy Spirit be the one dictating. However, I'd like to rephrase your question.
Okay.
I'd like to call it what are the challenges that we foresee for the next 10 years.
Sure.
And if I have to say a specific challenge that is in line with our traditional service, our marriages, our spirituality, in today's world, communication is not a problem. The quality of the communication is the problem. And we need to provide to the new generation a reliable spiritual connection that they will not find easily by texting or by asking a friend that happens to live on the other side of the country on the West Coast, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
That's taken care of already. Finding out when is your friend's birthday, that's easy. But finding out his feelings when he needs somebody to help him go through a difficult time, or to be present, even though he may be in California, to be able to listen to you when he needs someone to hear him. That alternative, that challenge, we need to solve or to present an alternative. Because, again, don't we all have text messages and smartphones and all that? But how many of us take advantage of that technology to help a friend spiritually?
Yeah.
Beyond the fact we're praying for you. That's good, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
We got to take that prayer as a practical thing that they can feel closeness
Yeah.
to God.
Yeah, and and how do you make that closeness, right? And especially with a city like Miami, right, which is considered the capital of Latin America, right? I mean, everyone that comes here, right? I mean, what an opportunity, right, to build that community, build that communication in a way that's really, transcendental in many ways, right? I mean, a lot of the leadership of Latin America comes here, right? Sends their children here as well to hear. So I mean, I imagine that's going to be really a tremendous opportunity as well for Miami, right? In particular.
We hope we can do a nice work, and we hope that guided by not only the Holy Spirit but also by Our Lady,
of course,
that we can provide an alternative. So those souls out there looking for what they call it, a mentor, you want to call it, a place where they feel that they are comfortable without risking anything, that is an alternative that we need to either fill the gap or develop a solution that is attractive and appealing.
Great, fantastic. Nino,
I'm going to be repeating myself because Jose said it very well. In the next 10 years, we're going to be doing exactly what the disciples were told to do. Go out there and invite.
Yeah.
Go out there and give the word. What has changed is what Mr. President here said, the means on how that invitation is going to go out. It's going to go out via Zoom. It's going to go out via the internet with the work that CJ is doing for us, putting us on YouTube as far away as our phones. The immediacy of what's happening, the message is the same.
And do you see the work of the ejercicios even being? I think technology will help you maybe even bring even more men.
Jose, it's like seeing my first child born. I can show you pictures, I can show you videos, but if you are not there, you cannot feel it. You cannot live it. If you don't experience the ejercicios on your own skin, forget about reading the books, forget about seeing the movie, or it's a personal experience.
Yeah.
It cannot be translated. It has to be lived firsthand.
Right, and how like the early apostle, right? I mean, the technology gives us opportunity. It gives us more redes, more nets, right, to bring people and to really capture them and bring them into.
It's the same message,
right?
different delivery.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, again, another city that's the nexus, really capital of the United States, capital of the free world. Alex, a city that changes at least every 4 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If not every
That's true.
every couple of years,
That's
right?
true. That's right.
what do you-
That's accurate.
yeah,
And you're not a state yet, are you?
Yeah, not, yeah, that's right. Not yet, yeah, not yet.
Neither are we.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're the same. That's right. It may not be for long, but
This
that's
is
right.
turning into a support group here.
That's right. That's right.
We're relating to each other.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I you know, so this, it's, you know, when you're part of a group that puts God first, right? Then things that come up, obstacles, you don't really look at them as obstacles. You know, we were going through our board meeting yesterday, and I thought to myself as we were going through it, I thought, how well we've responded to obstacles really that were put in front of us. You know, nobody can control this pandemic, right? And yet we're like, we keep moving forward, adelante. You know, another opportunity. We didn't look at them as obstacles. We look at them as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And we're like, wow, you know what? Zoom has connected us. We weren't really connected that much before. People, you know, from Washington really didn't know anything about Atlanta or Puerto Rico. So it's. I think that's the future.
Yeah.
I think, in other words, I'm not saying all Zoom, because obviously, like
Well,
you said,
absolutely.
you know, having those personal, those personal bonds is really what it's about. But it's given us opportunities to see, wow, okay, you know, something happened. Just like in our lives as Christian men, as agrupados. You know, we're called to be positive, to be, when things, and they're going to happen in our life, right? Bad things are going to happen. But if you have your priorities right, if you're an agrupado, you should look at those things and say, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to grow. This is no problem. And the other thing that I've seen throughout this, and CISAT has really done a great job in conveying this, and that is that what you said about what can we do to help, right? And that's been fantastic from Miami, from the national chapter. You know, Luis, I don't know how many times you and I have talked, and Father, you know, and I reach out, and you know, and they'll say, yeah, what do you need? How can we help you? That as you mentioned earlier, that service, that there's nothing more beautiful than a leader, than a president saying, how can I help you, right? We were joking yesterday, and Luis and I said, he's like, hey, what can I do for you? I'm here to serve you. And I go, hey, you're going to shine my shoes? He goes, I will, take them off, I'll do it. You know, and he would,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
if I really meant it, he would,
Yes.
right? So, and all of us would. And that, there's nothing more attractive than a Christian, Catholic, you know, Marian man showing that humility and saying, hey, I'm here to serve you. I'm not here for power. I'm not here for anything. And none of us are. We don't, none of us care about any of that. And that's what's going to continue to lead us in the future, right? That example, that ability to adapt when something happens, like this pandemic, which of course none of us would have ever imagined that the world would stop for, you know, a while.
Yeah.
And we're still not 100% back in. And so I think it's been a great opportunity. I think that's what's going to lead us in the future, the next 10 years, as, you know, if we can handle this, we can handle anything.
That's right.
And I think that's really kind of where we're going.
Yeah.
Alex, you know what comes to mind when you're talking about going out there and the challenges is our saying, lo que nadie quiere y lo más difícil.
Right.
What nobody wants and the most challenging one.
Yeah.
That is one of our sayings in the ACU.
Absolutely.
That's what comes to mind.
So I think the pandemic brought a beautiful side effect. It's incredible, and I would say something beautiful out of the pandemic, but personally I feel that that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Our spirituality was limited with new boundaries. We couldn't go out, we couldn't do as much as we used to, but it didn't stop us from being who we are. Our children got to see more of our spirituality than ever.
Yeah, good.
Our sisters, our brothers, our in-laws, they had an opportunity of understanding, or perhaps not understanding, but to see the spirituality closer than before. And that is going to the edges. Because some of them knew about the ACU. Well, what is the ACU? Oh, well, your father goes there. And your mother lets him go maybe because that way she can do her nails that night.
Yeah.
But when the push comes to shovel, during those difficult times that we didn't know what if or what is next, our spirituality brought calm to our families. Our spirituality brought hope to our families. And we were perhaps not necessarily praying alone sometimes. They joined us in the prayer. And that is something that I think is positive that came out of this, but at the same time, I hope we can continue that way. Because now we have little churches in our houses, looking at us, not only as the head of the family, but also as the spiritual guide.
I want to emphasize something that Jose brought up, and that has been the emphasis, at least that I try for this weekend for the board meeting. Cultivating an environment for the youth. That's what I put the emphasis.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to for us to put in our minds. And okay, we have to work on the youth. That is the future. And to answer the question that you haven't asked me.
Vamos a ver, what do we got?
No. I'm just following. I guess I should be next. I mean, looking at the big picture. So we're looking. Okay,
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
getting to the 90th. We have the last 10 years of the century. Okay, so we got to look at where we at. Where's society now? What do we want? What are we called? It goes to the three questions of what have I done, what am I doing, and what should I be doing for
Yeah.
Christ,
Right.
which is also another staple of ours.
Exactly.
And then we do, and the question is the last question: what should I be doing?
Right.
And that is the purpose of the assembly.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
As is well reminded to us in this the crucifix that we have here in the ACU house, which is beautiful, asking that very same question.
That
The moment you
question.
walk through the store. Yeah.
That's that question.
Yeah.
And so we got to take a look at society now. What are the challenges? And if we look at the history of the church has gone through ups and downs. It's been very difficult times. And a lot of us will say that we're going through difficult times.
Yeah.
The ACU is going to be challenged. It's going to be called to be the banners, to be out there as, professing the truth. And how we're going to change society. We're going to change society working with the youth. That is. If we want to work in the next 10 years and stuff like that, okay. So let's take who we are, what we, what we learn in the agrupación, and pass it down to the next generation. We want to change society for Christ. That's one way of doing it.
And that's so well said, because that's what this conversation is all about. That's what this effort is all about, right? As we look, 3 months from now, 2 months from now, we're going to be back here again, hopefully in the hundreds, right? In terms of our numbers for our 90th anniversary, to have these sort of conversations. The gentlemen, I want to thank you for all of your hard work as presidents of the houses, and thank you, Luis, for your leadership on the national level, because we are in every one of our chapters. We talk about Washington as many times a shining city on a hill, right? But we are that shining moment. We've been given that opportunity to be that ray of light and of truth, and of God and of the gospel in these key cities, around the country, in the hemisphere, but also in the diaspora. What an awesome challenge that we have now, and as we prepare for the 90th anniversary, right? The work that the success of this assembly is not just based on on our presidents and on the board. It's on all of the agrupados, right? And it's really the success of that is dependent on all of us coming together, and we'd love to just conclude here with just your thoughts, each one of you, just what thoughts would you leave us with? And I say us, the entire agrupación, right? In terms of what can we think, how can we be thinking about, and as we prepare for coming together here in Miami, in 2 months' time, December 2nd through the 9th. So, what would you say, Jose?
So, what I would say is participate. Come to the assembly, come to the 90th anniversary celebration. Not to put it simplistically, but it is 90 years. There's only one 90-year celebration, but there's so many opportunities on so many different levels. There's an opportunity to come and see the new property, the new house. There's an opportunity to share with agrupados from all the different houses. Talk to them, see what they're doing, what we're doing in Atlanta, share with them our successes, our failures, right? So they don't make the same mistakes we do. But it's an opportunity to form and impact where the agrupación is going in the next 10 years, prepare it for the second century. So I would personally challenge all the Atlanta agrupados to come and participate in the celebration.
Cesar, what do you think? You're the host city here.
There's one thing that comes to my mind that the best way to explain it is I have to take away my humility hat, unfortunately. We must be doing something right to last 90 years, guys. Something we have done, even though we're just carrying the baton for someone that has started 90 years ago. We must be doing something right. And it may be a little bit different in one house versus the other, but that is going to come as a unison when we celebrate the 90th anniversary. And the more we are, the better we have and the bigger the joy. Please join us.
Thank you.
The anthem says it all. Uno solo es el jefe y maestro. You belong, you're part of it. You're one of us. We are.
Excellent. Yeah, that's very good. Wow, you guys have made it very hard for me to. No, but it's exciting. It's like Jose was saying, 90th year only comes around once. We're very close to the 100th year, and God willing, we'll get there as well. And it's an excellent opportunity for folks to get to know other houses that they don't have any other opportunities typically to do on a normal basis. And I think going forward, one of the things that Father had mentioned at the start of our board meeting that we're at right now is he talked about fear, right? And how so many in the world today, how fearful people are. And it's been a breath of fresh air to be here and see how we're not afraid, right? In other words, if we're walking with our Lord, we have no reason to fear. And I think that really summarizes kind of our spirit. And it would be wonderful if you can just make every effort to come out here for the 90th. We'd love to have you. We're excited about the future of the ACU, and it's going to be great.
Thank you.
So I'm going to mention something that you guys haven't mentioned. You kind of said it before. Miami, the magic city. We know how to throw a party. All right? All right?
We fully expect that.
So guys, all right. So it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Miami size, Miami style. So expect to have a great time. But seriously, as agrupados, we're expected to go to ejercicios every year. Why do we go to ejercicios? We go there to recharge. I experience this, and you guys experience this. When you come out of ejercicios, you're in cloud 9. You're so recharged, you're hungry, you want, okay, what's next? What do you want me to do, God? That is exactly the same feeling that we're going to have when we come to the assembly. That is the purpose. Recharge. Let's come together. Let's come up with a plan. Let's do it. Last 10 years of the century, okay? But let's do it together. Let's recharge. It's that brotherhood. I think that's that is, that's how we're going to come out of the assembly.
Luis, tell them to bring their dancing shoes.
See,
Oh, yeah.
that's an excellent point. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
90 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and there you have it, gentlemen. Thank you for your thank you for this insight. Thank you again for your leadership, for your commitment to Agrupación, for your example. As someone again from the diaspora, it's just wonderful to be able to see that the Agrupación in these hub cities is continuing to grow, and then also what the Agrupación outside of the hub cities is continuing to grow as well. We have so fortunate to be part of this of the Agrupación. We are one Agrupación, one Estovir, but these different colors, the different hues that we have across all the cities that we operate in, as Luis said, you know, we're going to we need everyone to bring all that with them here in December. It's going to be a very exciting time, whether you're from Atlanta, where it's university based experience, Washington, where you're representing the social, the political, and the private sectors. Puerto Rico, you know, representing the Caribbean, an experience of having ejercicios for 50 years, you know, on the island, and the experiences that being part of Puerto Rico, and then Miami, the house, everyone from Miami, which folks from Miami are not going to have to come very far for the assembly, but you know, you've also been the cradle of the Agrupación here in the United States and our exile. But for all of us, no matter where we are throughout the country, even throughout the world, December 2nd through 5th is going to be an amazing opportunity for us to really have these sort of conversations, the excitement, the energy of everything we have, and then the ambitiousness, right? The humility and the ambition that we need to have. It's a ambitious experience. I heard that term the other day, and I really like it. I really like it a lot, because that is the spirit of which, you know, we're going to sit down and we are going to chart the next 10 years of this organization, which, you know, God willing, I have every confidence in the world that, you know, with the leadership that we have, and with the calling, and with the Spirit moving us, and the Blessed Mother guiding us now, coincidentally with the 2000 year anniversary of the crucifixion and the resurrection, you know, coming up on it. We're 2 years with 2031 is our 100th anniversary, and then 2033 we know that is the 2000 year anniversary of the resurrection of Christ and the church as we know it. So what an exciting time to be part of this organization, to really think about how to move forward and how to continue to drive that. So again, our invitation to all of you, please join us on December 2nd through 5th here in Miami. Start making plans. If also I've been reminded that if economics is an issue and you have financial difficulty in getting here, the Agrupación is here to help with that as well. Let's not make that a reason not to come. If you cannot come, they should contact Eric, the chapter president, and Eric or Eric, right?
Chapter
Eric,
president.
or chapter president. Chapter president. So reach out to your chapter president, have that conversation. Don't be afraid. If you absolutely cannot come, I'm sure we'll have Zoom capabilities. But as great as technology is, and as much as technology has done for us, there's nothing like us getting together here face to face. And God willing, the pandemic will have subsided enough that we can do that comfortably and in a spirit where we can feel safe. So, gentlemen, thank you all, everyone joining us today. And may God continue to bless us all and move forward with the Agrupación. Thank you.